All right, hello wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. One of our favorite producers in here, out from the true Sonoma coast, was in Flowers Winery. And this is one of the first wineries out on the Sonoma coast, and this is a huge appellation. A lot of people don't realize when they see Sonoma coast on the label that the wines could be very, very far inland. It encompasses most of the Russian River and other areas which, like I said, don't have that coastal influence. So 2 years ago, the Fort Ross Seaview appellation was created for these wineries that are out here on the true Sonoma coast. So we started out with a little 2013 Sonoma Coast Chardonnay, and even though these guys are out there, this Chardonnay, they do use some purchased fruit for it, so they just have the Sonoma Coast AVA on there. A very focused bouquet here, that cooler climate. You really notice that lemony citrus character in this wine, and a nice little hint of spice here. You know, most people have dialed down the spice, so not a lot of oak in these wines, but I like a little bit of oak in my Chardonnay. You notice it here, some floral notes, that bright citrus fruit showing through on the tongue, a nice amount of acidity cleaning up things through the finish, that light seashell-like minerality that you get from this area too. An excellent bottle of Chardonnay from the Sonoma coast at $54. The Camp Meeting Ridge is out on the Sonoma coast, and these guys make 3 Chardonnays. Another one which we don't get in this market, the Moon Selects, which if you guys want, you know, they're good friends. We can order it in for you. They use Hyde and Wente clone here, which these produce a lot of chickens and hens, and what that means is there's big berries and little berries on the grape cluster, and what that does is you have grapes that have higher acidity and higher sugars, and they like this character for some reason with their wines. Most people don't like it. It happens with Zinfandel a lot. Well, this wine sees 35% new wood, so a little bit more wood for 15 months. And this wine's got a good amount of minerality on the nose. You really notice that seashell kind of briny character, especially on the second day, becoming more intense. And that is the sign, you know, of a wine that's going to age to me. One that you let sit open in the glass like this for 2 days, and it just blossoms overnight. Some vanilla bean spice, some creme brulee, and very focused wine on the tongue. Also, really bright lemon zesty fruit. Nice touch of toasted oak spice, that creme flan character, and a long finish, that seashell minerality showing all the way to the end. Very long and layered. Most excellent juice. And for $90, that's what we expect, man. For $100, better be damn good if it's a white wine. All right, the Flowers Sonoma Coast Pinot, 20% from their estate, as I mentioned before, from a group of local growers that they've been working with for a long time. And I should mention this winery recently sold to the Hanaeus group. And, well, Wallflowers and Gene, they were just getting old, and they didn't have anyone to pass it on to. So they looked for someone that had similar ideology to them and how, you know, they grew their grapes naturally, organically, and they wanted to make sure it was going to carry on. So these two hadn't met before that, but it's amazing how similar their views are in grape growing and other things. So I think the style here really pretty much unchanged. This wine's got a really pretty nose, fresh flowers, exotic spices, kind of wild strawberry fruit, really light in color, but that's what I love about Pinot. Can be light in color and have a lot of flavor like this one does. Really nice zesty cranberry and strawberry fruit, silky smooth tannins, and really long fresh finish, that nice spice and floral notes lasting to the end at $54. You're going to pay a lot for good Pinot Noir. I mean, Camp Meeting Ridge here, wow, this is Heritage Selection clones. They got a bunch of stuff in here, Swan, Dijon, and others. And what that means, the Heritage Selection, you get a lot smaller yield out of these heirloom clones, so a lot of people do not use them. And you get a lot more character out of these too. The earthy forest floor you really notice in this wine, more kind of a blood orange note, really exotic spices. They use a 20% whole cluster press. You get some of that spice from the stems with that. And really pretty strawberry fruit on the nose, fresh flowers, exotic spice, really complex bouquet, a little truffle in there, forest floor. Wow, very expressive on the palate as well. A firm hand of acidity here. You know, this wine needs a little bit of time. 2012, still very young. They make a more austere style of wine, but still, it's California. You're not going to mistake the fruit in these wines as anything else. $73.50. And then the Seaview Ridge. And the yields here are very low. Well, most of the vineyard sites out in the Sonoma coast are less than 2 tons per acre. So a good amount of that earthy, truffly character to this wine. Raspberry, wild strawberry fruit, brown spice, kind of allspice, a little cardamom in here. Really exotic nose on this wine. A cornucopia of spice and wonderful acidity in this wine. Solid core of raspberry fruit, all that spice and nuance from the nose through that long layered finish. Some dry tannins at the end. This wine needs a little bit of time also. 2011 vintage, a little cooler, but but most excellent stuff. That was my favorite wine of the tasting at $90. It's not always that way. They're not always the most expensive wines, but this time, that's just how it was. That's what we had to drink with our folks from Flowers Vineyards. I'm your host, Andrew Lamposoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.